everyone. This is Neil, and today we're joined with Harshita for another episode of Graduate Journey.
Hi, my name is Harshita. I am a student at the University of Waterloo, and yeah, I'm really excited.
Just start off by asking you, where all did you apply to?
Okay, so I applied to a couple of universities in the UK. I know that there's like a 5 university limit or something, so I did apply to 5 in the UK. There were a handful in the US. So I was pretty much conflicted between 2 different major choices. So I tried to apply to better universities in each of the countries that I wanted to. So I did do HKU and HKUST, which is in Hong Kong. And then Canada was my other choice. Yeah.
Yeah, and what led you to picking Canada compared to US, UK, Hong Kong, all of those?
Okay. So I think that the biggest reason was I've always kind of thought that I wasn't really sure about what I wanted to do as in when I grew up. But I did know that math was something that I was inherently like good at, and also something that was something that opened a lot of avenues for me. So I thought that all universities that I would apply to would be in that realm. I think University of Waterloo was one of the better universities when it came to math. That was my main choice as to why I chose it. But at the same time, I think a lot of people, when they compare Canada and US, they have this comparison that comes to them that's mostly for the PR or like living in that country or something like that, which, yes, it is much of a pro, but at the same time, we also have a course offering that is called co-op. So essentially, you study while you work. You study a term and you work a term. So I pretty much had the opportunity to kind of like dive into different fields while studying. So I get the opportunity of knowing what it is that I would like to do in the future. So right now, I did my first 2 co-ops as a data scientist. And then
Right.
after that, I'm working in the finance industry. So I work for capital markets. I think also it's a lot of exposure that it gives you. So I've worked in the retail industry. I worked for Nissan. I don't know if you know the car brand.
Yeah.
Um, I worked for them as a data scientist, and now I'm working for Sun Life Capital Management as a financial analyst for them. So it's pretty much like me stepping back from studies every 4 months and kind of getting the chance to work, and then seeing if that works for me. Maybe next time I'll do a different co-op if this doesn't sound as good as to me. So I think that's probably my reason for choosing Canada.
Right. And so
Mhm.
it's like they allow you to do internships, but not just for summer, but like in the middle of the term, essentially.
Yeah, it's also more like you are working pretty much like as a full-time employee. It's pretty
Oh,
much
okay.
much like that. So you get like, you can choose to do 4 or 8 months at a time. That gives you a lot of time to kind of see the company itself, the work culture, all of that. So I think if you ask me off the top of my head why I chose Canada or why I chose the University of Waterloo, is just because of the reputed co-op program.
Great, got it. And so you've already done 3 co-ops, right? So
Yep.
what are your future career prospects or goals or anything like that? Have you figured anything out, or your next co-op, or um after university, what you want to do?
It was about a year ago that I actually decided what my major would be. So I came in as an undeclared mathematics major. Now I'm doing a double major in mathematical finance and stats. So it's like a little bit of both. Like I do like doing pure math, but it isn't something that I see applied to my life personally. I do feel like something related to finance, but at the same time, using technologies is something that, although I am not a CS student, I feel like it kind of just puts me in a position to, like math puts me in a position to be able to learn all of those new things. So I want to be able to pick up some sort of computing sort of thing and put it together with finance and kind of quant, something like that.
Was there any difference in applications between like the US and Canada universities and UK and things like that? Were there different things you had to highlight for each?
Right, that there were definitely different things I had to highlight. Um, I feel like Canada takes into consider, like, I studied CBSE, and I don't think that it really prepares you for um, getting into a US university per se, just because there's a lot of extracurriculars involved that they don't pay much heed to. At the same time, Canadian universities do kind of take into consideration your scores, and that becomes a little more important in your application.
Right.
Um, so I think like things like Common App was not something that was there in applying to Canadian universities. It was more about what you've done and just putting that on paper rather than putting an essay out and kind of like form making all of that up. So I think application wise, it was definitely, I wouldn't say easier, but just more convenient to apply to Canadian universities and not spend a lot of time just putting into Common App essays. I know that took me a lot of time. It took me like months just to think of a good topic to write on, and I just yeah, I didn't have to do that for Canada. UK, on the other hand, it did have an essay, not the same kind of an essay that you would have for Common App and all the US universities, but I think that was the easiest. So for me, it was UK, Canada, and then US in terms of easiest to most difficult to apply to. You know.
Yeah. Okay. And then moving on, what subjects did you take in high school as a CBSE student, right?
Yep. So
Yeah.
I was in PCM, so physics, chemistry, math, and I had English, and I also my fifth subject was fine arts, and yeah.
Yeah. And what extracurriculars did you do? Because in a lot of applications, especially US and Canada applications, that's very important, right? So,
Okay. So I think pretty much since before high school itself, I've pretty much been very involved in just art itself. So I did a lot of things that kind of led me to the direction of having a lot of extracurriculars in that field. And I feel
right,
like, so through my US application, I tried to kind of bridge the gap between my artistic abilities versus mathematics, and I kind of put it together. And that was a lot of that went into my Common App essay. So like that was a very significant part of my applications. I did play basketball in school as well. So I did end up going to more levels within high school beyond that, like states and stuff. So I did have that on my resume as well. Yep, I think that's pretty much the gist of it. I
got it.
did. Mhm.
And so, so you were drawn to math, right, and art as well. So, were there any key competitions or anything like that that you participated in or won that um you could highlight in your application?
So I was a volunteer for this group called the Delhi Street Art. So what they do is kind of public defecation and stuff like that is like a huge problem in India
Yeah,
with all the walls and all of those kind of things. So they kind of picked up on the whole Swachh Bharat Abhiyan plus the whole art, like making everything look beautiful. So they do these murals that they paint all over the city, and they kind of just like do it for the beautification, just to get past that problem, I guess. So I
all right.
did get involved in a lot of that through school.
So, and would that be considered as community service or
Um, It would be. I also did a little bit of stuff for the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. I don't know if
okay?
you've heard of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So putting up toilets in schools, um, things like that, like setting up systems wherein you teach students within classes about like this entire issue. And I know that when I was in high school, it was a huge thing. Like it had just started, and we kind of just got into it. So that was something I kind of picked up on and rolled with it.
Right. Yeah, and a question about your profile. How do you go about bridging the gap between art and math? Because they're considered two like opposite things, right?
Yeah.
So how did you go about you like uniting them and highlighting that in your profile, like, your love for both?
I feel like I don't know if this is just coming from me, but I feel like there's a lot of beauty in numbers. And it's not just about the artistic process behind it. It's also every time you do a mathematical equation, for example, um, do you know how there's this math problem that says 0.99 is actually equal to 1?
I haven't
So
heard of it now.
0.99 all the way down, if you keep going into the nines, and you 0.9999999 is equal to 1, the way to do it is just such a beautiful process of getting to that end. Is
Oh,
That's an example. Also, if you know the Fibonacci sequences,
yeah,
you
yeah.
can see it in like um, just plants and flowers and things like that. So I think that is something that was always there. I always had a love for numbers, but I also had this artistic side to me. And bridging the gap, I don't know if I could bridge the gap, but I can draw a lot of similarities between the two. And that's
Yeah.
why it's just, math is so systematic and so like beautiful in the way it just flows. And I think that's the same way how a painting works, for example. So it's
Yeah.
just that kind of thought process that came in when I was writing my essays and stuff.
Got it. What leadership roles did you take up when you were in high school?
Yep. So I was in the student council for 3 years. The first year, like from ninth to 11th, is when I was involved. And at the same time, I was also the captain of my school basketball team.
Yeah.
Um, so the first year I had assistant discipline in charge. The next year was the sports captain. And then the third year I was a house captain for my school. So that's the leadership roles that I've taken in high school.
Got it. And did you take any internships in high school or anything like that during the summer?
Not per se internships, just more like so I went to a counselor for SAT coaching and all of that. So I did become involved. They started a segment wherein they started teaching like CBSE students stuff as well. I don't know if they're still doing it, but I think initially when they did begin, I was helping out with just teaching to the lower grades while I was in 12th. So it was not bad.
And so, in terms of balancing our time with all the different things from math to art to basketball to even your voluntary work, how did you go about balancing your time, making sure that you were never late on anything or things like that?
It's definitely quite overwhelming just because you have to kind of look forward to applying to university and becoming like this huge thing while also maintaining your academic scores. And I was in like an Indian system where I strongly believe that everyone is kind of very focused on just grades. And I
Right.
was applying to all these international universities with all of these different requirements they have of people. So I do think that scheduling, it did become very difficult to begin with, but after a point, it became about just pre-scheduling my tasks. One thing that I did do was I have, you know, like on your MacBook, how you have like calendars and you can put,
Yeah,
I just kind of took a screenshot of every month as it went by and put it as my background. So I would
got it.
always know what it is that I have to do in
Right.
whatever time. And I think one thing I picked up, this was after I came into university, but it would be like a good tip, I guess. I always end my day and I pick up my notes, and you know, there's like a to-do list on your in the notes app, just
Yeah,
kind of like write down everything I have to do in the day, from brushing my teeth to like taking a nap or whatever, everything goes into it. And I feel like that has helped me over time, just kind of put everything into blocks and do it in that way.
got it.
Mhm.
And yeah, that wraps this section up. So, would you have any advice for making the actual college profile and application itself?
Um, so definitely, I think that a lot of our time goes into like stressing about just what I should write and what I should put in and everything. Talking to people really helped me. I had an advisor who did help me. At the same time, I feel like talking to peers and parents and friends also does give you a little more perspective about what you want to do, because walking in, I was
Yeah,
confused about what to do. And just kind of putting your head into, you don't need to know what you have to do. Studying in a university abroad does give you the opportunity to switch between majors. Like I have friends who started off, did 2 whole years doing something, did co-ops, everything, and then decided this is not my cup of tea. So
yeah,
I feel like just don't be so stressed out about what you think you want to do and where it's going to go and everything. Just be more concerned about if you are doing whatever you're doing, just do it the best that you can, because eventually you will get in and you will be able to make a decision to choose not to do it or to do it. So um, just make a profile that you feel proud of. And this is like a whole new journey after school. And just prepare yourself. It's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of work.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's about all I have to say.
And do you have any tips for writing the essay? Is
That's a difficult one. I think don't think about making it too unique, because I think we think way too much about it. We think that, oh, it has to be such a different story and that's how we're going to get in and stuff. I think just write something that makes you feel like you're true to yourself, and something that you feel like is something that you are proud of. And at the end of the day, I don't think the essay is the make or break point. Yeah, it is something that is important, but yeah, just don't think too much about it, but also don't not think about it.
yeah,
That's
okay.
it. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, thank you for the advice and thank you for your time today. Um,
Right.
yeah, that wraps up this episode of Graduate Journey. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi guys. If you'd like a one-page PDF summary of this interview with the key extracurriculars, competitions, leadership positions, classwork, and also updates on the new videos, there's a Google form link in the description. Once you fill it out, we can send it to you. Thank you.